Hey everyone, now that we have Packet Tracer downloaded, I wanted to go over a really simple network and some must-have commands when building a lab. So what I have here so far is just two switches and two PCs. So the objective of this lab is to simply just get both PCs to communicate. So we'll start at switch 0, we'll go ahead and log into it, go to the command line, and the first thing we need to do is to get into the enabled mode. Once we are in, and of course EN is just the shorthand for it. If you just hit the tab, it'll finish it for you and you can go to the enabled mode. Alright, so first thing we want to do, and the first thing I always do when configuring any new device that I'm going to be lab on, or if possible work on, is try to put the no IP domain lookup. So if you're not aware of what that does, it essentially stops lookups for just random stuff you type. So let's say we're in enable mode on this switch where it has not been configured and we just accidentally type period, and you're going to be stuck on that translating domain server for quite a while. And essentially when you configure it, it stops the lookup. So good stuff there. So now that we have configured that, let's go ahead and put a host name on this one. So conft is actually short for configure terminal. And of course you can just tab everything out as you're going, so just type conf tab ter tab configure terminal. Okay, so let's configure the host name with the command hostname. And now we can type the name of this switch, and we shall name it switch, let's name it lab switch 01. Alright, that's good enough for me. Let's actually see if this one has ended. It has still not ended, so we're going to go ahead and continue on this one. Alright, so now we need to see which interfaces with show interface status are configured. So I know I configured the fast Ethernet port for the PC, and GI02 goes to the other switch. And of course we can just do show CDP Neighbors, and it's going to show that the other switch is actually connected on the local interface G02. So now we'll go to configure terminal. We will go to that interface G gigabit Ethernet 02, and we are going to make that a Switchport mode trunk interface. So that is going to go into trunk mode, and we'll go ahead and name that interface as well. And we're going to name it, so this will be lab switch 02, because eventually we're going to name this lab switch 02, and this one will be lab switch 01. Okay, so now that we have that, we can go ahead and exit out of the interface. That's what config if stands for, configure interface mode. And now we are just back in the basic interface configure mode. So once we're here, we know that the fast Ethernet FA01 connects to the PC. So we'll go to interface fast Ethernet 0/1. We'll do the description, and we'll simply just put PC 0. And if we hit end, it'll take us all the way back to the enabled mode prompt. You can do a show interface status, and now it shows us that GI02 is connected to lab switch 02. That's just the name we gave it, and it is a trunk port. Okay, and I believe, now let's see if this one is finally finished. Okay, so we can finally configure this one. Okay, so conf t, we're going to put the host name, we're going to name it lab switch 02. After that, we're going to go ahead and actually put no IP domain lookup, so that way we don't mess around and get stuck for a while. Okay, so as you can see, right when we change the name of the switch, the name right here changes as well. So now when we're working in each device, when we look at the terminal, we just automatically know what device we're working in, which is really helpful. So let's do that. Let's now let's see let's see, it's connected on GI02 as well. So we'll go to conft GI02. We'll do switchport mode trunk to make that a trunk port as well. So this is the link right here between both switches. We're making that a trunk, and we're going to name the description of the other switch, which is lab switch 01. So, and now we know that the let's see, I think it's going to be, we know that this right here, FA01, is going to be the PC, so we'll go conft interface FA01 description PC1. So now that we've got, let's see, is that everything so far? Both switches, configure trunk port name interfaces, PCs, input static IPs. Okay, so actually we need to configure privilege 15 on console. So the way to do this is we will do line console, and the console actually only has one port, so it's 0, and then from there we are going to do privilege level, and there should be 0 to 15, and the highest is 15. So what that does is every time you log into this device, instead of logging in and then having to type enable, you can just simply log right in, and it gives you this, you're in enabled mode automatically. So that saves you a lot of time, as opposed to just coming in and have to enable it every single time, which can get pretty frustrating if you're working with a lab of 7-10 devices, and they if they all time out and you go back to it and you gotta constantly type enable. Okay, so we'll go ahead and configure that here as well. Line console 0, privilege level 15. Okay, so all those basic commands are pretty much good. So the no IP domain lookup, the privilege 15 on the console. Those are some of the must-have commands when working on a switch or a router. So let's go to the PCs. So on the PC for the interface, we are going to configure an IP address so it can communicate with PC0. So we're going to essentially simply just give it 192.168.0.100, and the subnet mask should just default to a /24, which is C55.255.255.0. Okay, so let's go to this PC. We are going to change its fastest interface to 192.168.0.200, and let that just click on the screen. It'll default to the /24 as well. So we can go to the desktop command prompt, go ahead and type ipconfig, and now we see that there is a IP address of 192.168.0.200. So if we try and ping 192.168.0.100, we have connectivity, and now we have made a simple lab showing connectivity between two PCs. Let's go ahead and ping from this side as well. Let's actually verify the IP information first. Ping 192.168.0.200. Alright, and we have connectivity between both PCs over the switches.